you guys have any critiques, particularly negative but constructive critiques about any of our work here, let us know.
Hey, it's Game Soup here. We're looking at our second devlog for a third game.
Game 3.
Yeah.
Codenamed Girl Icarus Uprising.
Which Joe came up with, right?
No, Hayden came up with it. He left it in one of our comments in the last video.
That's a pretty good name. I feel like that's a solid name. So we're just going to look at some of the enemies here, maybe some minor gameplay changes.
Yeah, I don't think we had any enemies. Well, I don't think we showed any of the enemies in the last devlog. So we've got some of that to show. And another thing that we should mention is that there's a lot of work that's been done on the game that Joe and Ed do not know about each other's work.
Yeah, we haven't.
So I'm going to be asking Ed a lot of questions, and Ed's probably going to be asking me a lot of questions. We figured we would just do it live so that we might have the same questions that you do. So I'll be asking Ed questions about enemy behavior and some of the gameplay stuff, and he'll probably have some questions about the art stuff, which we'll be going over later.
There's a cat. This cat wants to come in the room.
I noticed that the fall through feels better. We were talking about that.
Yeah. I've been making just continuous upgrades to the controls and collisions.
I noticed that Y is now shoot though, which is kind of awkward, but it's okay.
It just goes to show you that I play test with the keyboard.
Yeah.
So this is an enemy. This is all he does is jump around, and if he touches a wall with his entire body, he sticks to it, and then will launch at you. Like that.
Okay, that's cool.
And the idea, one of several possible ways to do it would be to make that attack, that leap, even faster, but give you like a slight warning, like a warning indicator.
Yeah. So this is his spawn point here, right?
Yeah. That's what
B
S is for. Yeah. And there's also a new enemy up there. You can see shooting bullets at you. And that geomimic there, that grave, he would be like mixed in with other innocuous things, like regular gravestones that don't look like that and don't attack you, but something that looks like terrain or environment.
Yeah, so he kind of like tries to stomp you from what it looks like, or from what it is.
So
the idea the idea that I have for that gravestone kind of enemy was that it would try to bite you. It would stay stationary. It wouldn't move.
Okay.
But that it would try to bite the player. This is actually really hard to control.
Oh yeah,
because the buttons are all not.
Oh yeah, there you go.
Oh, you can do the wall jump though.
The wall dash.
The wall dash jump.
Yeah.
That's cool. That wasn't in here before.
Oh okay. It's been a while since I put that in, but
that feels great.
Yeah, because
that's like, if not perfect, near perfect. That's great.
I asked Joe like a little while ago if we should. It's good, right?
Yeah, this is great, man.
Yeah.
This is better than I was expecting it to be today.
We kind of used Mega Man X's movement as a template for that.
Yeah, a lot of the influence for the movement in the game is obviously from Mega Man X.
So you can actually hit those switches now to unlock that door, but because it's dev mode,
and it's got a little bit of deceleration and acceleration in it. Not that much though.
I did a whole bunch of tweaking with that, with all the movement stuff. All those variables for velocity and direction.
How do I? Stuff. Oh, you got to shoot these ones. Yeah. Okay, these are the buttons that you have to shoot.
There you go. So that's like timed.
Yeah.
So if you hit both of them, at the same time or within a second or whatever.
And that's what unlocked this gate here. Right?
Yeah. And that gate will never appear again as long as you make a save. It's like a permanent. I just set a flag that said don't ever spawn this again. And so, a lot of my time recently has been dealing with that stuff. Like, we've never had to do that before, where we've had to save that kind of information before in a game.
Oh, I keep on pressing X to shoot, and it opens the menu. Okay, so this guy, is he just like a sniper, a dork that just stands there, or does he guard?
That's a block, actually. So that...
Oh, he's blocking.
Yeah, he blocks.
Oh, okay.
So you can't tell from this because I made it, but he can only be attacked in that position when he's getting ready to shoot you.
Okay.
Otherwise, he'll just block your attack.
That?
Like that, yeah.
Am I hitting him?
No. Only now. That's what the only
I can hit him when he's got that yellow mark on him?
Yeah. You might not even be able to kill him right now.
Yeah, he might have... It looks like he has infinite hit points.
They'll have 10 HP for testing purposes.
Oh, okay.
So it'll take a while. I wouldn't suggest it. This room was just, mainly to demonstrate a couple different enemies all at the same time, and how they might interact. Because there was another enemy up top.
Do we have... Am I going to die? Do I have a limited amount of health here?
Who knows? I don't know. Oh, there's another one of those jumper dudes. I can talk about he has... Oh, never mind.
Oh, sorry about that.
No, he has... There's another one down there, but you can see how they have that triangle. That's their line of sight. certain enemies, I imagine...
that circle around him?
That circle around him is his radius for how he can detect you, but the triangle there is the direction that he's looking. And he can actually see from both directions. I imagine most enemies won't be the case where they can see from both sides, but this guy would. He's like a lookout kind of thing. So if you're standing in that triangle and you're not behind a wall, it checks for walls too, to make sure he actually has a straight path to you. You might be able to get him like that. Who knows? Yeah. And if you hit him and he's idle like that, he'll just go.
Which button is fixed shot? Do we have that on here? Oh yeah, it looks like the L button is fixed shot right now. Yeah. All right. So I'm not going to be playing this competently, but
that's all right. Yeah, part of the joy of watching someone else play is do things that I never thought to do or did not do because I was focusing on other things.
I don't think I can die. I'm pretty sure I have infinite health, which is good because we're just trying to show how the game works.
Yeah.
It'd be kind of annoying if we kept dying when we're trying to just
that's actually demonstrate. An enemy right there too. If you imagine you're in there you go.
There we go.
It'd be that kind of thing.
This is. I think this is an enemy that we talked about. Well, off the show, but this is something that Ed and I have discussed. Yeah, I haven't seen this enemy at all.
Something that hangs from the ceiling and then just attacks you like that. So that would be in where the ceiling is really low in a certain area.
So he has 10 hit points.
I think they all have 10 HP. Yeah, I could have just set it to 1, but I didn't.
So. I think it's better than 1. I think 10 is better than 1, so we can actually demonstrate the enemies and what. Actually, I don't think we checked that W enemy up here.
Oh yeah, well there's not. Oh,
is he just a Gomer?
That's just a Gomer.
Okay,
just
a regular Gomer.
Yeah, he doesn't shoot at all.
I had a little animation that I made.
I could have put that in,
but it's not it. Yeah, I guess it's not in yet.
It's not,
but it was like a little guy that crawled that we could use for a Gomer. It probably will not make the cut for final art, but it was just a little practice thing that I made in one of my many animation programs. That was something I was going to talk about.
Oh yeah.
I think I actually made show notes for it, but I don't remember where they are because it's been a long time. I feel like GameSoup has been on vacation for a lot of the last month, which
we've had a lot going on,
which is physically true, and it's at least half true. We were away for a week, and I was away for half of this week, and we've had a lot going on outside of GameSoup, so we've had less time to record, less time to meet and work on the game, and just less time in general working on the game. But we are back in full swing now. Do you want me to save or leave?
Just leave.
Just leave? Okay.
Can you leave?
Yes, you press the Y button.
I'm still sorting out some of the issues with text boxes, but I've spent a lot of time working with cutscenes.
So I can go through
with text boxes. Yeah, you can actually just walk through those.
Oh, we can just walk through them.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah, but you can imagine this would be a room where you would need fixed shot. Like you would get the fixed shot in the room just before this.
Yeah.
And this is your first test of you have to be able to use it by just standing in the center or whatever.
Yeah.
And it would not be easy, I imagine. It wouldn't be too easy. Yeah. But these don't actually function.
But they don't actually do anything. But you can see that they're all red, and all these need to be turned red in order to unlock all these gates so that you can get through. So we were planning on doing some kind of I don't know if I want to call it a puzzle, but a little game like that you would have to play to open doors and.
Well, it's good to have some sort of mechanic for an area, just some sort of interesting mechanic
and something to force the player to have to aim and learn how to aim at targets in 8 directions, right?
Yeah, I think it's more interesting than just having combat.
Yeah. Okay. It's just down and jump for the downward slam.
You know what's really satisfying? I played Guacamelee.
Oh, really? I've heard good things about that.
Yeah, I think it's a short game. I played it for maybe 2 hours, maybe 3 hours, and that game has a really satisfying ground slam.
I love a satisfying ground slam.
Yeah, it actually, I kind of took this idea from that game.
It feels pretty good.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. You get a really a good sense of impact. All right.
The A button to start. Okay, so we're just going to start from.
I would
just tell me where to go at this point.
Let's see. We can see the cutscenes to the right. Otherwise, you can just go wherever you want.
Okay. Should we do cutscenes? We can do cutscenes.
We can. Yeah.
Okay.
So I made
through here.
Yeah, I made a couple of mock cutscenes for the.
I've seen this. I like this one.
Yeah, for the purposes of getting this cutscene system up and running, I made a couple of these demonstrations. So there's some motion blur there when the camera pans like that, and the camera's way zoomed in right now.
Yeah, we talked about how big resolution we're going to have to make the artwork, because we want to try to make the game 4K if possible, because right now some games are 4K, and by the time this comes out, 4K is going to be maybe the mainstream, or it's going to be close to it for everything. So we're talking about doing that. And then on top of that, if we want to zoom in to double size like this is double size, right?
Yeah.
So if we want to zoom into double size, we're going to have to draw the art like double to make it 4K, and then double it again to make us able to zoom in and for it to look good in 4K.
Yeah.
So we're going to have to make the artwork very large in order to do that.
So we might not use this at all then, just I don't want to put any more trouble on you like that.
Well, it's no trouble on me. It's no trouble at all on me. It's
probably trouble on me, actually. I'll have to manage the texture pages a little more carefully.
Yeah.
But yeah, this cutscene, you can see like the text effects. There's some shaky text. Pretty much anything you can do with a character, you can do it in this cutscene. Like you can move characters and play animations and all the regular stuff, and you can have them run.
I like this character.
Oh yeah. So we just told the worst pun ever, pretty much. And now they're just sharing an awkward silence together. And they love it. Their crowds are just going wild. They're big fans of puns. And he's had it. Nobody else is allowed to be as good as he is at puns. So he's going to come up with a really good one. It's actually terrible. So now they both share an awkward silence. You're not actually supposed to be able to see those halos and her bounding box at that point, so it'd be as if everybody has just somehow disappeared from the room.
Out of embarrassment,
out
right?
of embarrassment.
So I like the idea of this bird character. Oh, do you want to tell me to go somewhere?
Oh yeah, I was going to suggest you go down. There's one more minor thing I can show you. There's also a cutscene down there, yeah, which you can mash through this if you want to.
So ground slammed.
You did, yeah. Yeah.
I guess you're supposed to do that.
I don't think you actually have to. You can just drop down there, but that would happen either way. What was I don't even know what I was talking about. But this is a slightly longer cutscene. But yeah, the one thing that I wanted to show you in this room was to the right there. That is the dev way to signify that is a hidden wall. I worked on implementing hidden walls this week.
Oh, cool.
Walls that you can destroy. I know it's corny, but it's all about testing. So what do you think they're gonna do? What are they gonna do? Oh, that was anticlimactic. Instead of beating up two guards and stealing their uniforms to sneak past, we just had to ask.
I think I laughed the first time I saw it, but I've seen all these cutscenes already. Yeah. So
I mean, Can you go there? Maybe not.
Looks like you can't.
Oh, actually, don't go there.
I was gonna say I might fall off the edge or something if there's not any collision out there.
Yeah. So normally you wouldn't know this is a secret wall because it would be textured like the rest of the walls.
Yeah.
But if you attack it once, there's the dust.
Yeah, you see the little dust.
But
and then
you
it
can
breaks.
Also,
okay, looks cool.
Yeah, and I also worked on saving all the data for that and lots of interesting stuff that is incredibly boring to hear. But if you go to the right,
and then we come back out, it's still
yeah,
it's persistent, right?
Yeah.
I really like this bird character. We had this idea because for a tutorial, a lot of the time you'll have a character that teaches you the ropes, and I thought of one thing that it kind of reminds me of, or maybe that made us think of it, is the owl from Ocarina of Time.
Oh, I hate that owl.
Yeah, the owl.
He's the worst.
That takes forever to teach you how to do things.
Oh yeah.
But our bird is probably gonna be like a crow or a raven or something, and he's gonna be very stupid. Like this guy is very stupid.
Yeah.
Instead of being old and wise, he's kind of stupid, but he still teaches you how to do things.
And this is the secret room. This is what you get if you find the secret.
That is the Game Soup cat right there.
That is the cat.
If you've never met him before, he is
literally in my lap.
He is the Game Soup cat. He's in Ed's lap right now. That's pretty much what he looks like. If you're under him and you take a photo of him with a fisheye lens.
Oh, you did, man. You walk right off the edge.
Yeah, I walked right off the edge. No, I didn't. We're still here. But how do we get out of here?
Oh, you don't. This is a one-way ticket.
I really like the dash jumping. Like the dash jumping and jumping off the walls, like the control feels really good. It's like close to perfect. I'm really impressed.
I spent a lot of time working on it. Probably not even as much as I should have, but I'll continue to tweak it. So,
yeah, I'm sure it's going to be tweaked all throughout development and through beta testing as we get feedback from people and everything. But
yeah, just want it to feel good, you know?
Yeah.
So that's about it from me. Do you want to look at, we can look at your artwork?
Yeah, we can do that. So these are just some mock screenshots that we've been working on. Like, it feels like we got nothing done, but we've been working a lot on the game.
Yeah.
So we were talking about it just for a minute, like while we were loading this up, and we're designing the design process is the way that I put it. And Ed agreed with that, that once we get into the swing of things, we should be producing the content a lot faster than we are now. But for right now, we're working on just preliminary stuff. And so this is a mock screenshot of what the game could potentially look like. Probably none of this artwork will actually be in the final game, but it is at the correct size for it to be in 4K, but not 4K zoomed. So if we had to zoom in on any of this, we wouldn't be able to, and I'd have to retrace all this to be in a higher resolution. But, so yeah, this is an example of what one of the areas in the game would look like. I wanted to cover, I made basically three screenshots, and I wanted each one to cover a different area of the game. There's going to be 5 areas in the game, and this one is the southernmost, the lowest area in the game, and it's kind of a volcano, igneous rock kind of area. Maybe not volcano, but yeah, like a rocky kind of a area that has an outside area as well as an inside area that's more like a cave like this, like you can see. Yeah. So I like this because the characters really pop off of the background.
Yeah.
And I think that's a lot of the reason why a lot of games in general, but Metroidvanias especially, take place in dark castles or in underground areas, because you can get a lot of contrast that way. You just make the characters light and the background dark, and you can see very clearly what's going on at all times. Like Hollow Knight, the main character is white and all the backgrounds are almost black. So that's a good example. But yeah, all the Castlevania games, same thing. So this screenshot, I just wanted to show, this area, and I wanted to show an enemy and how we're going to be separating the foreground from the background. So for this kind of area, having the characters be lighter would pop them out. But also I wanted to use saturation to separate the characters from the background. So all the background is, all the backgrounds and all the platforms are going to be at least slightly, but probably a lot less saturated than the actual characters, so that you can tell the difference between them. So this was an idea that we had for an enemy. If you can't tell what's going on, well, I don't blame you. But what he's a bird. He's in the top right here. You see the body of the bird, and he's going to have a head that looks like the bomb that he's throwing, right? So what he does is he's got this head that's coming out of that, with that neck at the top, that little ring that you see at the top. Can I point here? And that's showing up. Yeah, that's showing up. Okay, cool. So this point here is where his head would be, and you'd see like half of it, like a hemisphere out of it, and then he would pull it off, throw it at you, and it's like a bomb, right? And then he would go back down and do a standing animation, and the head would just grow back out of this hole right here, and then he could throw it at you again. So it's like he has infinite heads, and each head is a bomb, and he throws it at you, and then when it hits a surface, it explodes, right? And so here's our character. She probably fell in from up the top here and is running under him, dodging the attack here. And you can also see the halos will be following behind the character, something like this. I don't know if we're going to be able to make this look as awesome as I want to, but we're going to damn well try to make these halos look cool and dynamic when you're moving around as the character. And another thing, the surfaces here, this is how we have it set up currently with our current tile set that we are working with in the preliminary version of the game. We're probably going to make a series of tile sets for each area just for development purposes, so that we have Yeah, so that it doesn't look completely bland when we're doing level design and stuff. But for the final background art, I'm going to wind up hand drawing a lot of it. Like I'm going to wind up hand drawing unique art for a lot of it. Like all this stuff that you see here, it might not be. It wouldn't be tile settable, obviously, right? We can't tile set any of what you see on this screen right here. But what we can do is we could, for instance, if we have a long stretch of ground like this, we could copy paste this, and I could draw something connecting it to whatever architecture that we need. So we're going to be able to reuse art and cut and paste line art, but we're not exactly, the more that I look at it, the more I don't want to use tile sets, and the more that I think we're not going to be able to use tile sets for what we want to do with the game.
Yeah.
But just for preliminary art and for development purposes, we are going to make probably 5 different tile sets, one for each area, that are going to be, they're going to be pretty basic. They're not going to look like this at all. But they're going to be at least something that separates the different types of basically just different colors and different kinds of terrain. I mean, yeah, there's 100 more things I could probably talk about with just this screenshot, but we're going to keep going. So this is just another color, like a palette swap, mostly for the background. I'm not sure. I don't think I changed much else. I changed the characters a little bit, especially the enemy. I think I only changed the enemy, but yeah, so it's the enemy and the background. I changed the colors a little bit. I kind of like this one a little bit better, this one that's a little bit more reddish, because a lot of the game is it going to be purple? Is there another area that was going to be purple? Yes, the cathedral area was. I was going to use purple for that. So I was going to make this one a little bit more reddish to distinguish it from one of the other areas. If we wind up not using a cathedral area, that's probably the most boring area that we have. I think we can make it interesting. It's likely still to make it into the game, but if we come up with a better idea and we decide to cut an area, that would probably be the one. So we wouldn't. Then purple would be open for use in another area, but I just want to differentiate the areas by color, so I made this one a little bit more reddish. It could be like a reddish purple. It doesn't have to be like a specific direct color on the color wheel, but yeah, so that's it for that. And then we've got up here, you can see this is a mock-up of just a life bar, and I put these 3, we're probably not actually going to do this in the final game, but I put these 3 halos around here to show the player how many halos they have available. So if the character throws a halo, one of these would disappear. If she throws another one disappears. If she throws the last one, another one disappears, and you have nothing here. So it would just show you how much ammo you have. And the halos are basically on a cooldown, and as they come back, these would reappear in this order. So this one would disappear, this disappear, this disappear, and then this reappear. So that's just another UI element that we could use, but Ed made a good point. This was probably a few weeks ago when we were talking about UI elements, that all we probably are going to need in the game really is the life bar, and to just throw extra UI elements onto the screen that are unneeded just to add more, to make it look more complicated and complex, really isn't necessary. Probably being minimalist with this is going to be better.
I mean, you already have your ammo count right above your head.
Right.
You don't necessarily need it in the UI.
Correct.
You know?
So, yeah, I think Ed made a good point there. So we're probably not going to use that, but at least the life bar is going to look something like what we have here, like the halo that depletes like that. And yeah, I like keeping everything with flat colors as much as we can to keep the style coherent. So here's another screenshot.
I love it.
This would be a boss fight. You saw this lion guy. There was a concept art of him in the last devlog, so there's a pretty good chance he's going to make the cut as either a character or a boss in the game, or both. So I decided to use him as our target for this screenshot. And the main thing I wanted to, not the main thing, but one of the big things that I wanted to cover with this screenshot was effects. Because in Inferno Racket and GameSoup, I felt like we didn't have flashy enough or impactful enough visual effects on impacts and really everything. So I would rather go a little bit over the top than do it a little bit too weak. So the effects on this, as you're going to see, the effects are not on screen right now. But as you're going to see, I went really over the top with the effects. I guess we'll talk about the effects first and then talk about the background stuff. So this is all of the effects all at once. So these are you would never see a screenshot in the actual game that looks like this. This is all of the effects at their extremes, at their largest part of the animation of the effect. So I'm going to break down each effect individually. So the first thing, the character, the halo would never stick into the enemy like this. It looks cool, but it's not going to happen because we have to have the character be able to be hit from, for instance, what if the character jumps up and is somehow up here and hits from this angle, or if you're standing on the ground and you hit from this angle, it's not going to look right if it sticks into the character in the same exact position from every direction that you're hitting him. So the solution that we came up with for this was to draw the halo from the side, almost like it's a pin kind of sticking out of him. It would be like not quite a line, just slightly tilted towards us. So, what's it called? An ellipse. It would be just a slightly tilted ellipse that you could stick into the boss character from any, or not boss character, into the enemy from any direction. So you'd be able to hit him from, any spot. So it could stick like in his head, it could stick in his side, it could stick in his, anywhere on his hitbox basically is where it would be. And the action in the game is going to be taking place so fast, I don't think anybody's really going to notice if it looks a little bit awkward. But
I think it'll look more correct that way though. Yeah,
so this looks cool for the mock screenshot, but we discovered that this is probably not going to be doable for every enemy, and it's never going to line up perfectly how we want, because we have 8-directional shot and a lot of other things to consider, but I won't get into all of them. These little debris effects, those are going to be drawn into the enemy getting hit animation itself. These won't be separate little debris. So these will probably be like, I don't know, a few frames, just something really simple, like when he's knocking off the ground. We talked about that before. I think that I really like the use of debris as to show action and the direction of action. It's used in comics. Well, sometimes some artists like to use debris as a way to show movement and action, and I think it can, in animation and in games, it can really be used to that effect. So yeah, we're going to be doing that. And anyway, here's all of the effects at once, and we'll be going through them one by one. So first, we've got these stars along here. This is just showing the path of the halo. This is going to be, every time you throw a halo, there's going to be some kind of a particle effect behind it. I like using yellow stars. The halo is yellow, so I think the effect should probably be yellow.
Yeah.
But I like something simple. I mean, it could just be circles, but I kind of like using stars as the effect. We could also use like little crescent moons or little halo, like make a little particle that is in the shape of the halo, like from the side, right? That loopy thing.
Yeah.
So that would look cool too. So we could do like stars or the halo effect. But this is just kind of to show. I just use like a spray paint brush to show roughly what it would look like, and they'll be like randomly generated. It won't look exactly the same every time. But then this effect right behind them, this pink, what would you call that? Impact effect. That would not be an animation that explodes out of him and is that wouldn't be heavily animated. That might just be one frame. Like that might just be a one frame animation that shows, or one frame image that just goes right around the impact point of where the halo hits an enemy, and it appears behind the enemy, like on a layer behind the enemy and the halo. And I like this effect. This is kind of a comic bookish kind of effect. So it would either be one image or just a very subtle animation, like it would spread out to be slightly larger than this and then shrink down. So it could be like as much as maybe a 5-frame animation that expands and contracts to show the impact. We may or may not use. We're probably not going to use all of these effects. I think it's going to be oversaturated with effects, and it's going to be confusing to see what happens if we use all of them. We're going to probably test all or most of them out and see which one that we like the best. But I'd rather, test out and see how it looks. Test them out, see how it looks, and go over the top rather than hold back and wind up with another game that doesn't have enough visual impact on the visual effects. So this is a simple one. We're definitely going to be doing this one. This green circle that you see around here, you see this a lot in fighting games and action games, 2D and 3D, that whenever there's an impact from the center of it, we use this in Infernal Racket, actually, something almost exactly like this, that it starts off as a circle that's about this big, if you can see how my mouse is moving, and then it expands to about this big and fades away as it's expanding outwards. And this is something that you've seen thousands, millions of times maybe in games, and you don't notice it, but it just adds a level of impact. It's more about the feel of this effect rather than being, you're not going to be wowed visually by it, at least not consciously, but adding this, it doesn't last longer than, I don't remember how long it was in Infernal Racket, but it was probably less than 10 frames if we're talking about like a 60 frame per second game. It probably wasn't longer than maybe 10, maybe 12 frames, but you don't notice it, but you feel it. And this is, I think it's important to include this on every impact. And it could be yellow. I made it green for this because I thought it fit with the background more, but actually it might be better to do yellow because the halos are the yellow gold color. So doing, like a gold yellow color. Okay, the next effect is, this is like a slashing effect. So this would be like the maximum middle of the animation here. So it would start on the left and move across the enemy like this and dissipate to the right. So the effect would start small, get big like this, and then dissipate and get smaller as it goes to the side. And this would be a fully just hand-drawn effect that would be rotated in the direction of how the halo hit. I like this a lot. This would probably make the cut. Like if we only did 2 effects, it would be probably this and this. If we only did 2 of the effects. If it turns out that we're doing way too much, then it would probably be these 2. I think these are going to give us the most bang for our buck. And show the most impact without cluttering the screen too much. Excuse me. So the next one is, I really like debris. So we were going to do, you can see these gray rocks. They don't really stand out against the background, but while they're moving, they're going to be a little bit more noticeable. But it's another thing. Like the effects are something that are going to be a little more subconscious than the player is going to be aware of when you're in the middle of the action. But I think it really adds to the feel of the game. I'm probably hammering that home more than enough. But so yeah, just having debris, even though it doesn't make any sense. Like he's not made of rock. He doesn't have rocks on him. But I just think it's cool to have little pebbles and rocks flying off of things as they get impacted. Like you see it down here, the little blue ones on the ground the blue ones would be part of the boss character's actual animation. So that would just be built in. That would look the same every time. But these gray rocks, this debris, would be every time the halo makes an impact with anything, an enemy or a wall, you would have a degree of these rocks flying off. Now, these rocks would not go flying everywhere like in Infernal Racket. I think that would be too distracting, but I think they would just pick a straight direction and fade out as they go, and it would just be more of like a puff particle effect than like the glass breaking in did I call it Glass Breaker? Infernal Racket.
No.
Yeah, in Infernal Racket. So that is that. And also it would be like a half circle effect, moving away from the boss or moving away from the enemy, and a cone effect moving towards the enemy. So you can feel like the impact of it bouncing off as well as moving through the enemy. And then the area up here and down here would have no debris spawning going in that direction, if that makes any sense. I think that would give us a good impact effect. We'll probably do some kind of a debris. I don't know if we'll do this degree of it. It might be too distracting to have this many rocks flying off, but for just display purposes, for testing purposes, I wanted to draw a lot of it just to see what it looked like. I'd rather go over the top while we're working on the game than not. Yeah, I would rather go over the top and go too far than not go far enough. And then pull it back if we went too far. This is just like a palette swap for the background here, without the effects. So you don't have to just use, like, this is blue. Like, that's what people think of for a sky, right? You would think blue sky, white clouds, right? But this would be like an evening. If this area took place in the evening, then we could do something like this. This is just Control U. I just I just changed the levels, so it doesn't look exactly perfect, but it's just a demonstration of what we could do with changing the colors, so that it doesn't have to be just a sky blue. I mean, I like how this looks though, so we might just go with the blue and white for the sky zone area. Also for the background here, I decided to I didn't want to make the clouds just plain white, like cartoonish white, and I didn't want to make the sky just cartoonish blue. Now you can't really see much of the sky here, like this right here and this right here, this grayish part in the far back here, the light gray here, that's actually the sky. And a lot of, I should have actually saved this with multiple layers so you could see all the layering I did with the clouds. But some of these clouds, like this one right here in the middle, would be moving either from right to left or left to right. And same with this one here, this one right here. So a lot of the clouds would be moving, but the furthest back clouds wouldn't be moving at all. Those would just be stationary because they're in the very, very far distance. And yeah, this stuff like the crystals and this piece of architecture would just be floating, and this piece of pillar here would be floating, just hovering slightly with a little bit of a sign behavior. Same with this, and yeah, all this stuff in the foreground. Yeah, you'd be able to see, like, well, you saw it, how Ed had programmed it. You'd be able to see the characters through the foreground stuff. But yeah, I think having foreground elements is cool. This might be a bit much. This might get in the way, this one right here, but I like having the ones around the edge and the top corners. I think that's it for this particular screenshot. And the next one, I don't think I'd seen this at all. Not. So this is a multi-shot screenshot. Oh, I tried to zoom in. Did it work? Oh, it did work, but it's just really big and slow. So here's the zoomed in part of it, but I have another screenshot that's just that. So we'll get into that in a second. But yeah, this is essentially, what is it, 12 screenshots, but I cut off 25% of the screens on the left and 25% of the screens on the right, because Paint Tool SAI is the program that I use to draw in, and it's an archaic program, but I'm kind of addicted to it. So the initial drawing was done in that, and that limits your canvas size, I think, to 10,000 pixels in any direction. So this was too big to fit into that. Now, I could have started, I know how to use other programs, but I'm just the most comfortable doing line art and drawing in Paint Tool SAI. Yeah, I just prefer to use it. So yeah, I figured I just cut a little bit of some of the screens off here. I think it gets the point across either way. So I think it gets, yeah, well, that's pretty much what I meant to say. Yeah. So this is the moon area that we had planned. You can go into the moon, and I wanted the moon to look like it was man-made, like it was carved out in a man-made way, so it's not organic. Like the previous area, this area, I wanted this to not look as if it was cut out. Now, obviously, we're going to be working on a grid, so it's going to look somewhat man-made. But I wanted to make this look a little bit less man-made. Like this structure here is not man-made, and like the platforms look a little more uneven and more organic than the moon area. The moon area I wanted to look really like it was constructed, like it was cut out by someone, which it was. And what else? The platforms leading to it are more organic, though. Like these, I wanted to look more organic, but the actual interior of the moon, I wanted to look like somebody purposely dug it out. So yeah, this screenshot, well, we'll get into it as I move along. So yeah, this will help me explain it more. So this is 4 screenshots high. This would be a room in the game. So the camera could zoom out here, but you would never, from this shot here, you would never see the outside of the moon. So when the player crosses over this line, it changes to another room. So you would never see this and this at the same time. The outside and the inside would never be seen at the same time. They just, yeah, it's a screen transition, right? So this is the interior. So you would see all of this, and this would probably have more to it. This would be maybe 2 or 3 screens wide for this full room here before you get to another screen transition. But I just wanted to show one screen transition. I wasn't trying to like design the entire area. What else? So, and here's the right side. So this would be one room of the game, and we would probably zoom out here. So you would probably see as much as 4 screens worth of platforms here. At a time. And yeah, it would stop here though. The screen would stop scrolling here and to the transition. So here's the most zoomed in part of where you can see the character. I added a little shadow. So we're probably going to have just a little black shadow to help the player track their jumping and just to make it look slightly more realistic. But that's a pretty common thing. This is a Path of Exile guide. That was the last screenshot. We're using a web browser to look at the screenshots because it was the easiest for us. And as far as the moon area goes,
dude, that detail.
Yeah, it took me a long time. I actually did some of this one circle at a time.
Why?
It was dumb. I did some of this, like this wall. I did one circle at a time, just to start, because I wanted to look perfect, but it was taking so long. So the other walls, like this one, I did with like a spray brush.
I think that looks it's like if I wasn't looking at them side by side, I wouldn't know the difference.
Yeah, it doesn't really matter. So yeah, I wasn't going to do the whole thing like that.
Looks
I realized.
Cool though.
So
even the background, I noticed, is like that, right?
Yeah, the background is
That's very cool.
Sprayed. Yeah, I didn't want to I'm not trying to kill myself making really complicated artwork for everything. Like you can see, like this is all. There's nothing here that's really there's no shortcuts to make any of this stuff here, and there's also no shortcuts to make any of this stuff. Now this was a little bit easier to do than this area. I mean, you don't need to have a lot of like accuracy and drawing skill to make all this look nice, but when you're talking about like architectural objects, I mean, they don't look perfect, but they are. It's just harder to measure and draw architecture than to draw like organic shapes like this. At least for me, maybe some people, but and like effects are easier because they're more organic. But yeah, I wanted the moon area to look man-made and also to be a little bit easier on me on as far as the art goes, like to keep it a little bit simpler. And I think it's a decent contrast from like this, from the Sky Zone area, which is going to be the starting area. I want that to be like clusters of all kinds of architecture and weird things floating in the background, and it's going to be pretty art intensive. Mm-hmm. And the moon area, at least the interior, is not going to be as art intensive. Once I've got all this down, I mean, we might even be able to use this artwork in the final game or something very close to it, maybe some edits to it. But we'll be able to. It's going to be easier for me to do it. And like the background, yeah, I'm not going to have to draw a bunch of nonsense floating around in the background, and yeah, just keeping it with some simple geometric shapes like this. I could draw some line art for it. We might not do it exactly like this. There might be a better way or another way to do it that's not too art intensive. But I think I'm not 100% happy with how like all these circles look. Like these flat areas should probably not be there. It should just be all circles, because I originally drew delineated flat line areas to delineate where roughly the colors would be shifting over. But so yeah, it could be fixed up a little bit, but that's about what I wanted it to look like. And yeah, there's also craters inside the moon. It doesn't really make sense, right? Why, like, are meteors like are meteors being directed in and then moving around and hitting the walls and the floors? No, it doesn't really make sense.
They're just flying on in.
I kind of just like how it looks, so I think
do it.
The form is over the nerd function. Who really cares, right?
Yeah.
If it doesn't look accurate. And this is a fall through platform here.
Oh, okay.
So you can see how there's we would have debris randomly falling off of it, so just random particles or objects falling out from under. And then when you break it, we would have I would probably have to redraw these as like separate elements, and then they would break, and maybe some of them would fly upwards a little bit and then down, and then some of them would fly. They'd fly at like kind of random intervals, mostly downwards, and fall fast, and probably disintegrate. Not disintegrate. What's the word? Fade out. Yeah, fade out. And yeah, so to have some kind of an impactful effect as they are broken through. So I think, yeah, we want to make it look satisfying. And yeah, I made them a little bit different color just so that it pops and you know that it's something special because there's stuff falling and it's a different, make it plainly obvious to the player that this is something special and that they're going to probably want to come back here once they've gotten a new power-up. And there's the outside, and there is... Yeah, I think that is... I'm sure I'm missing something, but that's for the most part... Oh, there's one other thing I wanted to talk about. The height of the platforms. You're standing right in the middle of the platform here, right? In the other screenshots, you can see the player standing on the platform, and this is actually thinner. The depth of the platform. You can see how this is thinner, right? The depth from right here to right here is thinner, and the player is always standing in the middle of it. So this is just to create a little bit of a three-dimensional effect. The only platform that has that three-dimensional effect are the bottom platforms. We didn't do it for the top platforms or for the walls. I spent a lot of time pining over this, trying to figure out what is this going to be the best way, what is going to make this look the best and look the most realistic without making us bend over backwards with the programming and the art to make it to make it work. And I think I've looked at a lot of games, and I like having the slight 3D effect only on the ground, not doing it for walls and ceilings. And this is a topic I could spend an hour talking about this, but the thing I wanted to ask Ed and you watching this, do you like the thinner platform like this, where the platform looks a little bit thinner? This and this are both of equal thinness in pixels for the basic for what would be, I guess, a tile set. The underlying collision, or oops, let's just go to the last shot. Or this is wider. So this is, I don't remember exactly how many pixels, but this is wider from here to here, or better would be to look at these platforms from here to here, from here to here. So this is wider. So this looks maybe a little bit more three-dimensional, but also the character is unable to, like, if you jumped up and the character's feet were right here, you would not land on the platform. You would have to land, the character's feet would have to land in the middle of this platform here in order to actually complete the landing. So yeah, I might be getting nitpicky about this, but I think it's important to decide on if we want the thinner platforms like this, or if we want the thicker ones like I did for the moon area. And that's the reason why I did thicker ones for the moon area. It wasn't particularly because of the specific area, but I just wanted to test out and see what it looked like to do the wider platform. So I don't know, what do you think, Ed?
I really like the look of these thicker platforms, because I feel like you can see more detail on the floor itself. But of course, that also means that you have to draw more and make.
No,
more.
I don't.
Oh, you don't?
I don't. No.
Oh,
no, it really doesn't. It's not any extra work for me. It's just a perspective.
I like this. I do like this.
Yeah, this is about the maximum that we're going to be able to do with the size of the collision grid that we're working with. We're working with 64 by 64. 64 by 64. Grid squares.
So what is this height then here? Is this 64?
It might be. So
I mean, it's okay.
The actual collision is at the player's feet right here. So the player's feet is on top of the collision. So this would be the drawing for the box. Like this right here would be a box. And this up here would be, this is just additional background art that would be pasted. So it would be seamless. The player would see it as seamless.
Yeah.
But for us, this would be a separate piece of art from all this. Or a better example, just to make it simpler, would be like this would be a square here, right? Then this would be a square here that might not, this probably wouldn't be collision, but this would be a square of art right here. This would be a square of art here. This would be a square of art here. And then up here would be, this would be pasted on. So there would be a seam here. You wouldn't see the seam, but for us, this would be a separate piece of art. The tops here of the platform. So the collision is in the middle, though, right? So yeah.
I think we'll have to see how it looks in motion, and once we get it going. But I do like this.
I mean, we can use this art in the game. I can cut all these platforms out, and you can mess around with them in the game, and we can see what's going to look best. And we could also do something in between the two. We don't have to choose from one or the other. So this is probably the thinnest we would want to go, and the moon is probably the thickest that we would be able to go. So I think that's about it. Actually, that took a long time to go through. I didn't think that was going to take so long.
I had no idea you had that much, and also that 12 screenshot.
Yeah,
was mind blowing.
Yeah, I mean, it was mostly just for the background. I didn't have to draw any, make up any characters or anything. So it actually didn't take that long. The one that took the longest was the second one with the impact and all the effects and stuff. And I did a lot of research for that one. But yeah. So that's what we've got going on for Game 3, Girl Icarus Uprising. And we are going to continue to work hard on the title. And we are moving past, I would say we're past the planning phase at this point. It's kind of it's a little bit of a gray area, but we're officially in the middle phase of working on the game, the grunt work part, where we produce all the assets and make the final, not the final, but where we make the gameplay more solidified, and we'll start doing, well, level designs not yet, but during this phase we'll be doing the level designs and making the finished project. And then phase 3 obviously is going to be is going to take 80% of the time, because it's going to be the bug fixing, the testing phase, and the phase that you think is not going to take very long, but finishing a project, well, I'm not going to say it's 80%, but it's about half of the work, really, the finishing phase, which we learned in Infernal Racket and Game Soup, but really Game Soup, that was one of the biggest lessons that we learned. But I think we've gone on long enough for this one. This is a lot longer than I thought it was going to be. So if you guys have any... we should have said at the beginning.
I'll add it back in.
All right.
I'll just edit it that way.
If you guys have any critiques, particularly negative but constructive critiques about any of our work here, leave it in the comments. Whether you're a game developer, a fledgling game developer, you just love playing video games, you're an artist, programmer, anything that you see that we're doing wrong, let us know. And you can also leave nice comments too. Either way, but we prefer constructive criticism of any kind.
Sure.
So, thanks a lot for watching.
We'll see you next time, which I don't know when that's going to be, but once we have a little bit more that's substantial to show, right?
Yep. We will be back.
Goodbye.